Prime Minister, the Bank of England's just cut interest rates, but it's also halved growth for 2025 forecast and raised the inflation forecast and said employers' national insurance hike will raise prices and hit jobs more than expected. It's a poor verdict on your budget and bad news for your growth plan. You must be really disappointed.
Well, what I think is significant today is that the interest rates have come down. That's the third cut in interest rates since July. That is really important because that means more money in people's pockets. Of course, wages are going up higher than inflation, again more money in people's pockets. But we're never going to turn around the economy in just 6 or 7 months. It was always going to take time. There's more to do. And that's why the announcement we're making today about nuclear, which is moving this on significantly to small modular reactors, getting again to the front of the queue in the world on that, making sure that can be done elsewhere across the country. So AI, data centres and nuclear can come together. This is hugely important. That means lots of investment into our country, which is then measured in jobs. So when it comes to growth...
They said that your NI is going to cut jobs. They said the NI hike will cut jobs.
Well, there's been an increase of, I think, 70,000 jobs since we came into power. So I think that shows the trajectory when it comes to jobs. But the only way to get sustained jobs in this country is to get the investment in. And that's why I'm really pleased that we've got the highest levels of investment now for 20 years. And that's only coming because of the big decisions that we're taking. It will take time, but we've got to see these decisions through because this is what is going to turn the economy in the long run and make sure that people don't just see a line on a graph, but feel better off.
Your Chancellor said that she was not satisfied with the growth rate after these figures came out. Presumably you aren't either. You've also said you'll take on the blockers and the environmental zealots. So are you minded to grant consent for a giant new oil field, that's a Rosebank development off Shetland later this year? Are you minded to grant that?
Well, so far as Rosebank is concerned, as you know, there was a court that meant the licence had to be reconsidered. The criteria now needs to be reset, and then the application needs to come in, and then a decision will be made.
But are you minded to grant it if you can, if you want this growth?
What we said,
$7 billion investment, hundreds of jobs.
What we said at the election was we weren't going to interfere with existing licences. This process started, obviously, before the election. It'll have to go through the next process. But the mindset is we know that oil and gas is going to be a big part of the future for many decades to come. We do need to transition to clean power. But in relation to this particular licence, it was granted in the first place. It's going back through a process. Now, I can't preempt the decision, but we did say that where licences have already been granted, we wouldn't interfere with them. It's gone through a different process. That the application has got to come back in again, so that we're not at that stage quite yet. Then there's got to be a decision made properly. But I'll be open with you. Oil and gas is part of the future mix for decades to come. But we do have an opportunity, particularly through nuclear, to get to a very stable environment when it comes to energy, which means not just lower bills, but them not fluctuating so much, which is why today's announcement is so important, not just for the sector, but for the everyday bills of businesses and families across the country.
Do you stick then, you just talked about bills, do you stick to your legend pledge to cut energy bills by as much as £300 a year by 2030? Are you recommitting to that?
Yeah, well, that is our aim. That's what we're driving towards. It depends on decisions like today and pushing them forward, because this is the future. To stop Putin putting his boot on our throat, which is what's happening all the time. We're exposed to the international market. We want to control our market. We said we'd aim for 300, up to £300 off. That's what I want to achieve. I also want the stability. And I want those bills to be low for a prolonged period of time. I think many businesses and many families have suffered their bills going up and down, and we can't have that volatility anymore.
Right, Prime Minister, thank you so much. Thank you.